Hey everyone, Brent from BC Doves, bringing you folks hopefully another watchable video. I want to say thank you first and foremost to everybody that's been watching the channel. The support's been really good, and I couldn't do it without you folks, man. We're up to 63 subscribers now. We started obviously like everyone does with 0. We have total, I think, like 88 videos or something like that. So 62 subscribers with 88 videos, that's pretty good, pretty good. This is another rock music video. This is part of the Discography series that I've been doing. Got some great news. I'm excited about this one. If you find this type of content enjoyable, please smash that like button. Turn those bell notifications on so you won't miss a single video that we upload here. So I hinted to it on my last video. We were doing an album, new album purchase video a couple of days ago. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. That I was getting ever closer to completing one of these discographies, and I finally got the last one in the mail today. I got one in on Sunday, an album in on Sunday that I was needing, and got the last one in today thanks to my lovely wife. And you know, this is a Canadian band. You know, Canada's given us a lot of stuff, man. They've given us to my fellow brethren and ladies up north of the border, you guys have given us everything like Shania Twain and the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Blue Jays, Ryan Reynolds, Nickelback, you know, but most importantly for me, what Canada has given me as a rock and roll fan is the band Our Lady Peace. I've talked about this band on my channel many times. They're one of my favorite alternative rock bands of all time. One of my favorite bands, period. Really love them. Love everything that they put out. A lot of people may think of Our Lady Peace and they may think of, you know, oh, Superman's Dead. I remember that song like in 1997. That song was all over the radio. Whatever happened to them after that? Well, nothing. They've been steady putting out music since 1994. About every 3 or 4 years goes by, they put out another album. Each one is killer. I haven't listened to a bad album of theirs yet. They push Canada a lot. That's their thing, man. They're hardcore Canadians, and that's what they do. And they don't cross over here a lot. They tour a lot in Canada. There's not a lot of support for their albums down here in the U.S., at least not anymore. But we're talking about a band that sold millions and millions of albums worldwide. A band that's been, you know, double platinum and platinum, at least on 4 of their albums that they have. Been gold on multiple other albums that they've had. And we're going to bring you their discography today. And we're going to talk about a little bit about each one of their albums as we go through them. Our Lady Peace was formed in 1992 with Michael Rada, I think, or Maida is the name. It's hard to pronounce his name. It's Maida. He later changed his name. They started as a cover band called As If, and they got their original members and they kind of got everything together and they changed their name. They got hold of a producer who convinced them to change their name, or I don't know if the producer convinced them to change their name, but they thought maybe a name change was warranted, and they changed their name to Our Lady Peace based upon a poem, a famous poem of the same name. And when they did that, and right before they started touring in support of their first album, Michael Maida changed his name to Rain, R-A-I-N-E, and we all know him as Rain today. It was Rain and I think it was Matt Turner were the co-founders of the band. Kind of funny, you know, people know also that I'm a huge Metallica fan, my favorite band of all time. And if you know anything about their history, Lars and James met each other due to The Recycler, which was a magazine that floated around the Southern California music scene. Musicians seeking other musicians of like-mindedness. And James Hetfield answered the ad, and we will forever know that we have Metallica now. And that's kind of how you did it back then. Well, apparently in 1992 they did the same thing. Matt Turner put an ad in a paper seeking other musicians to play with, and Michael Maida answered the ad, and thus Our Lady Peace was born, or the band As If was born, which later became Our Lady Peace. Our Lady Peace, like I said, formed in 1992, and their first album came out in 1994. And it took a while for this album to get started and to get some traction. They dropped some weird singles off this album, hoping to get some college radio play. Read that, they didn't want to drop anything that sounded too mainstream at first because they didn't think that the college radio stations would pick them up, wouldn't pick them up. I'm sorry. That if they dropped something that was too mainstream, that the college radio stations wouldn't pick them up. That's what I meant to say. Ugh, word salad. But they chose a couple of the wrong singles, and it took them about a year to get any traction on the record. And then they dropped Starseed, the single Starseed, and Navid, and the rest was history. And of course, we're talking about Our Lady Peace, Navid. This is their very first album, came out in 1994, and it's just a killer alternative album. Just a great entry album into the alternative music scene. I mean, we're talking about 94, so we're talking about bands that were already established like Soundgarden and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains here. I don't think STP had dropped their album yet. Maybe they did. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so they were cutting into a pretty fierce scene, but they cut through, and they were getting play all over the Canadian radio stations. And it bled into, once they released Navid and Starseed, those songs bled into the American alternative music charts, where they landed on the charts. They toured massively on that album, went back in the studio, and what we got next was probably their most widely known release, or their most, I don't even want to say the most commercially successful release, but here in the US, what most people knew them by, and that was 1997's Clumsy. And the album art on this was taken from a song that was cut from the album called Trapeze. They cut the song but left the album art. That's why you see a man on the trapeze here. But this is their 1997 effort, Clumsy, which is a fantastic album with songs like 4 a.m., Automatic Flowers, obviously Superman's Dead, and the song Clumsy itself. Clumsy and Superman's Dead both charted, I think, in top 10 in the US and Canada in that year. As a matter of fact, Clumsy the album was listed as the most popular and the most played album on the alternative music scene in Canada for the year of 1997 by numerous radio stations in Canada. Let me get some water here. So, they obviously toured on that album, had great success on the album. So they're doing this. Went back in the studio. I think we've lost a bassist at this point. I can't remember the bassist's name, but we've had a bassist depart due to different musical differences in the band. We've gained another bassist. And then we had their 1999 effort, which is Happiness Is Not a Fish That You Can Catch, which, there's not one single drop off from any of these three albums. They're all three just absolutely fantastic albums. And people will remember songs on here like Thief and One Man Army, like a one man army. And Is Anybody Home? I'm sorry, can't sing tonight. Got a little scratchy in my voice. But yeah, if you don't remember One Man Army, look it up on YouTube, and you'll remember as soon as you hear it. By the way, if you haven't given Our Lady Peace a listen, go back and check their first 5 albums out. I'd say their first 5, I'd say check any of their albums out, but for somebody that hasn't really listened to them that much, go check their first 5 albums out, man. They're just freaking killer. So that was Happiness Is Not a Fish That You Can Catch. Clearly, we're holding a red snapper. I'm from Florida, so I know exactly what that is in the picture. That was their third effort. All 3 of these albums at this point have gone platinum, so they are on a trajectory like no other. But they're starting to, people are already at this point starting to forget about Our Lady Peace here in America, because all they ever knew was that Superman's Dead song. And I don't get it. But anyway, then we get their 2000 release, which is Spiritual Machines, which is a concept album based upon a book that Rain had read. I can't remember the author's name, but this is an enhanced CD. It says links to exclusive downloads, contests, videos, and more. Includes the song Life. I'm sure the contest is over by now. But this is Spiritual Machines. Just another fantastic album. Just the next one in their discography. Concept album. So a little different. I think they felt like Spiritual Machines was a little far out there, and they might have been losing some fan base with that machine since it was a concept album, so they wanted to get back to their, I don't want to say back to the roots. They felt like they were getting, they had reached a plateau. Our Lady Peace felt at this time they had reached a plateau. There was some conflict within the band, and the band almost broke up due to the touring of that album. People just weren't seeing eye to eye in the band musically. So what do? They go out and they recruit none other than Bob Rock, famously known as Bon Jovi and producer and Metallica Black Album producer. And we get the massive U.S. hit and Canadian hit of Our Lady Peace Gravity with the single Somewhere Out There on there. But we lost on this album. What we lost on this album was some of the things that made Our Lady Peace great. This is probably their most commercial sounding album of all their records. And Rain's, if you know anything about Our Lady Peace, Rain has a very unique vocal sound. It's a falsetto, very unique, very wild and erratic sound. And it was stripped away and stripped down on him to get more of a popular, just straightforward sound in his voice. I like the album a lot. Sell My Soul and Not Enough, Made of Steel, Bring Back the Sun is just this whole album is fantastic. But I will tell you, from a band's perspective, it is not Rain's favorite album. From a sales perspective, it's probably one of the best albums that they ever put out. Double platinum. And that is their 2002 entry, which was Gravity, as I said. Next up, we have, in 2005, we have Healthy and Paranoid Times. Now, I read that they had somewhere upward from 40 to 45 songs recorded to put on this album, and they just stripped it down to, 12, I think it was. So imagine having 45 songs and stripping it down to 12 to put on this album. That's how much music they had written up for this record. I read that Rain was just disgusted. This album, he said, is the complete culmination of the music industry and them forcing you to put out music, and that they had to keep writing songs until the record label felt that they had 12 songs that they could put on an album. And it's just not, Rain was just not happy with this record. The band was not happy with this record. Once again, the band almost broke up after touring on this album. Now, me personally, I love the record. Angels Losing Sleep is one of my favorite Our Lady Peace songs of all time. If you've never heard Angels Losing Sleep from Our Lady Peace, go check them out on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you get your music, and do yourself a favor. Do not live your entire life without listening to Angels Losing Sleep by Our Lady Peace. You will not regret it. But, Rain didn't like the album, so we're seeing a trend between Gravity being a commercially successful album and then Healthy and Paranoid Times being what he felt was more like an industry-pushed album. And we started to get back a little bit to our roots, and we're starting to get back to our roots with their 2009 release, Burn Burn, which is another fantastic Our Lady Peace album. Dreamland is a great song on here. White Flags is another great song on here. And this was, like I said, this is their 2009 release, Burn Burn. Nothing really jumps off the page on you here, just another solid Our Lady Peace record. Then a return to form. I read in an interview that Rain said that they had to get back to their original roots, and they had to just go back and play stuff that the fans that made them who they were. And I always appreciate this when artists do this. I feel like sometimes artists get commercially successful and they lose sight of what got them where they are. and because they've had industry moguls in their head telling them what to play and what's popular and everything else. Well, that was not the case with their 2012 release, Curve. This is a return to form, in my opinion, to Our Lady Peace's original sounds. Just a killer album. One of my favorite Our Lady Peace albums, with songs like Heavyweight and Window Seats. Just a fantastic record. More return to form. We're actually listening to this right now. Obviously, I got to turn it down low so I don't get a copyright hit. But this is one that I was waiting on. And if anybody watches my channel, they know I kept mentioning this album and was waiting on it to come in. This is Our Lady Peace, their 2018 release, Somethingness. Just a killer record. I'm listening to it right now. I'm actually listening to it for the second time. Drop Me in the Water is just a fantastic song on this album. Just a killer album. And last but certainly not least, Our Lady Peace has 10 studio albums. They've had 19 singles reach the top 10 on Canadian music charts. They won 4 Juno Awards, double platinum albums, 5 different double platinum albums, ultra successful band. And last but not least, we have their 2021 release, Spiritual Machines 2, which I will say, believe it or not, it's another concept album. Listened to it last night for the first time. I didn't like it that much. It's completely different from anything they've ever done before. This is like Rain probably wrote most of the music and composed a lot of the music on there. I have to listen to it a couple more times. Out of all the Our Lady Peace albums I just showed, that one kind of got me. I was like, I don't know. I know I'll love it because it's Our Lady Peace. If it was any other band, I didn't have an expectation I would enjoy the album. But because it's Our Lady Peace and I got an expectation with those guys, I was kind of thrown off because it wasn't quite what I thought I'd be listening to. And last but certainly not least, one of the most expensive Our Lady Peace albums that you can find is the very best of Our Lady Peace. This particular, what do you call these? You call them digipacks or whatever. Yeah, I got this a long time ago. This is very old. This came out in 2010. But it's basically like a best of. But this one right here, if you bought this on eBay new today or in good condition, this costs you like $45. This is crazy expensive. But anyway, we've done it. So we have done it, and that's the whole point of the video. Is I love it, man. I told my audience I was going to sit out and I was going to do something, and I committed to doing it, which I always feel good about. When I make a commitment to do something and I get it accomplished, I always feel fantastic. And we have done it. We have completed the Our Lady Peace discography on CD. We've completed the Chevelle discography on CD. We completed the Sponge discography on CD on this channel. And this short little bit of time that we've had this channel, we've been able to complete all of that. And that's a total of, let's see, that's 10 Our Lady Peace albums, 9, I think it's 9 Chevelle albums, and Sponge. See how many we have here. I got Sponge right here. Sponge, you got the Sponge right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So that's 10, 19, 26 albums we have bought, and we haven't bought them all. I had some already, but we have completed those albums and those discographies, and it's been a lot of fun interacting with you folks in the community. And what I need to know from the people that watch this channel. Now, what I've said I'm going to do is, if the band came out before 1990, we're going to do their discography on vinyl. If the band started in 1990 or later, we'll do their discography on CD. That's kind of where I'm at with it. We're still trying to do the Blue Orchard Cult on vinyl. We have 5 of their 16 studio albums. We got a long way to go on that, but we'll get there just like we did with the rest of them. Hey, leave a comment down below. What is a band that you guys would like to see me complete their discography? alternative band, classic rock band, heavy metal, or hard rock band that you folks in the community would like me to see complete their discography or talk about here on the channel. It's really fun to do these things. I've really enjoyed making these videos for myself, not only for myself, but for you folks in the community. And hey man, I love music, you love music, that's why we're watching. I can't wait to do another one, and we'll see you on the next one.